Okay, so in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make a basic loader so that if you were to make this comic, you could put all your content on the second frame and your loader on the first, and basically what it does is it loads the bar across. Once it gets all the way to the end, it'll go to the second frame. Okay, so let's just take a look at what it does when you're finished. When it's a working file, it should look like this. So you have an image here, it popped up. So we're going to go to download settings, make sure we're on DSL so it's slow enough that we can actually see it load, and then you're just going to click simulate download. Okay, so it works fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a new file, and just to start we're going to just save it as it's just called loader comic. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is we need to make a loading bar. Oops, sorry. So once you've created the loading bar, you want to convert it to a symbol, and let's just call it bar_MC because it's a movie clip. And the registration is currently set to left, but it doesn't really matter. It depends on how you want your bar to load. Let's try it from the center actually. So let's click OK. The next part we want to do is add our text. This is basically just going to represent the values of how far it's loaded. So let's set that to dynamic text. So it should have a little dashed border around it. And let's give it a name of loader_txt because it's a form of text. One thing I forgot to do was to give this loader bar an instance name. So let's call it bar_MC. Okay, so we can call this loader. We want to make a new layer, which we'll call content. We're going to leave that blank for now. We want to make one called actions. You can insert blank keyframes for the next on the second frame, and you just right click and then insert blank keyframes. For the actions, this is where we're actually going to program and make sure that this thing will actually work. So the first part we want to do is create a stop, and that stop is just going to make sure that it won't do anything. It won't go to the second frame at the start. We want to put one of those on the second frame as well. Okay, so now that it's stopped, we have to actually make it have a function that will make it go to the second frame when it's completely loaded. So the first thing we have to do, like most things in Flash, is you have to add an event listener. Okay, so this is going to be an enter frame event, and we're going to call this function loading. Okay, so the function loading is an event, and it's of type void. The next thing we want to do is create two variables. So the first variable is called total, and it is the actual size of the entire file. So how we do that is to have this .stage.loaderinfo, and we want to get the bytes total. So that's just the entire size in bytes of the file. The next variable we need is a loaded variable. It's of type number, and I want to set it almost as the same thing as the last one, but we want to get bytes loaded. Okay? So basically what the first one does is the entire size, and the second one is the amount that's actually been loaded by Flash. Okay, so after we've gotten these variables and their values, now we have to set an animation basically to scale the bar whenever, basically scale the bar. So how we do that is we set bar_MC, which is the blue square at the bottom here. We set its scale x to be equal to loaded divided by total. So basically loaded divided by total will give us a value between 0 and 1, and we can use that to scale the bar's width. The other thing we want to do is set the text, and we do that by .text, and we want to round the number of loaded divided by total, close bracket, times 100 plus the % sign. which is a string, so we have to put in quotations. Okay, then we want to check and see if the amount loaded is equal to total. So basically, it's pretty simple. You have to, if the bar has gone all the way across, oops, and everything has been loaded, this is what we want it to do. So we want it to play, which will go to the second frame, and we want to remove the event listener that we created up top. And it's pretty much the same, except it's just remove event listener. And we'll set that as loading. And these are just the function. It's just the function name here. Okay, so we can save that, but we need something to load. So we're going to go to the second frame and we're going to import it to stage, and we're going to open up just anything. It can be a picture or it can be a SWF. Pretty much anything will work as long as it's compatible with Flash. So you can import that and just align this, center it up, and make sure it's the same size. And save it by Control S. And let's just make sure we don't have any syntax errors. Okay, looks good. And it should work. Oops. Okay. Oh, I made this mistake before. The loader info, the first letter should be lowercase. Should be in camel case form. Okay. Okay, so if we go download settings, make sure it's on DSL and simulate download. Works perfectly. There we go. Okay, that's it for this tutorial.